Form validation. Oh yeah. Hello there, welcome everyone to this new episode of Learn React with me, where you hopefully learn React with me. Hi, my name is Marco and I'm a full stack developer, and today I want to create something that looks like this. Now you have an immediate feedback when you type something inside the form, and when you push the button, you have the normal validation of the form. There are a gazillion ways to go about doing this. You can really just let your imagination go wild. This is something I like. You can do something simpler, but really the sky is the limit in this case. To do this project, I'm going to use React, of course, and I'm going to basically explain step by step what I'm doing. I just want you to know that the styling is not included in this video, but if you were interested into it, just look at the GitHub page. I'm going to leave the link in the description below. But honestly, I think that styling is something very personal, so just try to come up with your own styling. I'm going to do something that I like and that works for me, but styling is something very personal and you should come up with your own, I think. One last thing before we begin is that if you are enjoying this series and you'd like to see more, well then, don't forget to subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and above all, if you would like something to be developed on this channel using React, just let me know in the comments below and I'd be happy to try and do it. Why not? This being said, I think we can start coding. So open your text editor and let's validate some form. Alright, so this is more or less the final result that I want to achieve. Now, more or less because there's not going to be this footer over here, but basically functioning is very simple. Now, this is not 6 characters, but if I add 1, then you see that it's valid. And if I add a space, it's not valid anymore. I cannot add spaces, but if I remove it, now it's valid again. And if I do a basic validation, everything just fails because there's nothing, but I can change it. Maybe I can put the email here, .com, and this is valid. So I do it again. This is the basic functioning. And I think that it is easier to follow through the project with the final product like in mind. So when we're talking about React, it's good to think in terms of components. And components are basically the bricks, the small elements, the atoms. If we can imagine a molecule being the entire web page, the component is the single atom. And they are totally arbitrary. They can be as big or small as you want. You can have a component that is basically the entire page, or you can have the component that is like as small as the single icon, which FYI, it actually is. But you'll see. In terms of mindset, you always want to have a final design so that you can organize everything in small components. What I see here is, of course, the web page. This is going to be my app where all my components are going to be laid out. And then I can see the form. This is one component. And for each input, I have, this is a component, of course. This is another component. And this is another component as well. I can even put the button as a single component, or I can just type it like vanilla HTML. We'll see. But basically, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 basic components. Let's start from this and let's take a look at the project. So this is the setup I have after running the npx create react app. This is not what you should have because I've deleted a few files that are not necessary. But basically, I just cleaned it up. If you were wondering how to do that, just check my previous video of Learn React with me, where I go over like what goes behind the Create React app. But basically, this is what I have now. My styling is already written. I don't need to write anything because styling is not the point of this video. But basically, what I have now is my basic canvas. Okay, my app. Inside here, I'm going to have everything, all the things that I need. As I said, the first thing that I want to have is the form. So the React components are actually spelled out like this. Now, so if I save this, of course, it's not gonna give me any warning, but the fact is that this component doesn't exist anymore. I need to import it. So let's do something like this. In my src folder, I'm gonna create another folder and I'm gonna call it components. Inside this components folder, I'm going to create my first component. Remember, all the time you create a component, capital letter, and I like to give it an extension of JSX. This is more for me. JS, it's fine as well, but like this, I can differentiate between like React components and pure JavaScript function, etc. So now I have my file. If I type rfc, I could have something like this. Now, if you don't know what rfc means, it's thanks to this extension right here. If you don't have it, you can just install it. This gives you some snippets and shortcuts you can use with React. So basically RFC, it's importing React and it's giving me the name of the component. This is exactly how you initialize a component in React. Now that I've saved this, I can import it right here. So if I do import form, there's going to be an auto import. And so I have access to that now. So now what I want to do is to start typing, to start creating my form component. So first thing first, let me just remove this because I don't want to return a div, I want to return a form. Yeah, I think it's semantically more correct. And now something is gonna go inside this form. The first thing I want to have is, of course, oh my god, yeah, it's a div. Inside this div, I'm gonna have an h2, and this can be register or sign up. Why not? Okay, this div is gonna have a class name. Remember class name because class is a reserved keyword in JavaScript. This is gonna be my form header. Beneath my form header, I'm just gonna have another div. This time I'm gonna have a class name of form body. This is where the action is going to be. Inside this form body, I want to have my three components. Basically the username field, the email field, and the password. I consider the password and the confirm password as one component, and you'll see why. Basically, I can just say username field, and I can just do like this. Now, this doesn't exist, of course, but I'm gonna do the same thing I've done before. What I want now is just a basic setup password field, beautiful. And outside the body, I'm going to have another div, and inside here just a plain button with a class name of button, and we're gonna say submit. No, this is not correct. Okay, nice. So basically this is gonna give me an error because these three components don't exist, but I can create it. So in my components folder, let's create three more files. One is the username field, remember JSX, and I want to create another one. This is gonna be email field.jsx. Am I spelling it correctly? Yes. And the password field.jsx. Nice. So now I have my three components and I can start doing something. RFC for the shortcut. I have my username field here, but let's start just looking at the form component. Here is where I import the component. Import username field. Sweet. This auto import is amazing. Email field. Nice. Doesn't it see it? Why? No, it's spelled correctly. Well, from. Not like this. It's a string. Email field. Huh. Good. Maybe you got excited for a bit. This is password field. Oh my god, this is a nightmare. You know, it makes you like waste a bit of time. But basically now I got my three components. This is the basic setup that I want to have. Now let me just do the same exact thing in the other components. Email field, and let's save it, and password field as well. Isn't this sweet? Now, if I run the npm command, npm start, I should spin up a local server and I should actually see something. And we should just see the headers and the button. And we actually do sign up and submit. Of course, there is nothing because the individual components are just non-existent. We can start coding them out then, shall we? Okay, so let's start from trying to understand the logic behind this. So what I want to do in my form is, of course, having like a control over the states of the inputs. And to do that, I'm going to use the useState hook. You can import it right here, like this. useState. No. Okay. And I can use it like here. So the first is to set the username status. Username status. And of course, set username status. This is going to be a useState, and I'm going to initialize it as an empty string. Okay. So the status for at the beginning is nothing. I'm going to just make it 4 more times, but this time this is not username status, but it's the email status. And this I want to set the email status. This is going to be the password status. You gotta be careful with the spelling mistake, because sometimes it's just like the #1 error you're gonna run into. Set password status, and this is going to be the confirm password status. And this status basically means like it's valid or not valid, or just an empty string. Confirm password status. Okay. The only thing that I'm going to initialize as an object is this, and you'll see why. But basically, this is going to tell me if the username is valid or not, if the email is valid or not. In the case of the password, if I show you the final product, I have 4 different things that I'm checking here. And I cannot say, yeah, the password is valid. I need to check the status of all these 4 things. And I'm going to do that inside an object. I could just provide like 4 different things that check each one. Like the first one, check if it has 8 characters. The second one, if it has letters. But with useState, I prefer doing it with an object, because I just use one like state, one general state for the entire thing. Now that I have these functions, I have basically the status of the input and the function to change it. What I can do now, I can give it as props. So I'm going to give it a status, and the status is going to be, well, this is the username status. And also the set status is going to be like set username status. And it's going to work in the same way as for the other ones. There's just going to be a small difference, because here I want the email status, and here I want the set email status. Email, okay. Here I have my password status, and I can even call it, no, I can call it just like this. Password status, set password status. But here I will have also the confirm status, and it's equal to the confirm password status. Confirm password status, of course, and the set confirm status. This is going to be set confirm password status. Beautiful, nicely formatted. And what I have now is basically the status and the function to change it. Now the question here might rise. You could ask, Marco, why did you do this? Why didn't you let the single component to manage its state? Let's zoom in a little bit. Yeah. Why didn't you let the single component to manage its own state? And this is something very important. It's a very good question. And the problem is that the way React works, it works from top to bottom. So basically there is no way for this parent element, unless you're using some other like tool like Redux or the context API, where you can have all the components in your app to basically be aware of all the variables in play in the context, there is no way for this parent component of form to know the status of a child. So basically the state of a child. Because the way React works, things go from top, so from parent to child. So I can pass the status and the function and the variables and the parameters to the children components, but I cannot pass constant variables function from the child to its parent. It doesn't go up, it just goes down. But that's fine. I can pass whatever I want as props. These are called props, and they're very simple to understand. I mean, if you consider that a component is just a function, it's basically a function, the props are basically the parameters that you pass into the function, and they work in a key value pair kind of way. So the key is the name the parameter will have, and the value is just whatever the value it is. Am I setting it right? Status here, and status. Yeah, now it's correct. Now I have access to something to change the status and the status itself. So basically I have it here. And how can I access props inside the component itself? I can do a little bit of destructuring, and in here I get past the status and the set status. And if you notice, these names relates to this name, status and set status. Okay, so now I can start building the username field component. So what I want to do is to give it a class name so that my styling can come through of form input, because this is going to be an input field. Inside I'm going to have a label, and remember the HTML4 in React is because for JavaScript is a reserved keyword, and this is going to be for the username. And inside I'm going to have a class name of small, and this is just a utility class. What is going on? Something is missing. Yeah, and this is going to be just username. Nice. Then I'm going to have an input. This input is going to be of type text. The name is going to be username. Okay, and we can even do a placeholder. They're not always like useful in this case because I got the labels, but hey, who cares? Just like this. Okay, so basically I got my input, I got this, and what I want in the input is another div, and this time I'm gonna have a class name of okay, something is wrong here. Nice. Of check. And what the check has, it's going to have two spans. The first one is going to be the icon, and you'll see how I get the icon. And the other one is going to be the whatever I want to put, like at least 6 characters. Okay, this is what I want to be displayed underneath. And if I take a look at it now, I have my input field. I can input whatever I want, and I got my small little description underneath. This is where the icon is going to be. But for now, I mean, the input field is coming through, the styling is coming through, it all looks fine. Now, there is one thing that is totally missing, which is how can I check the validity, if it's valid or not? Well, I can provide on the input, I can provide a simple onChange function. And this, of course, is going to be equal. I get access to the event. I'm going to have an error function like this. Now, in the change, I want to have a value, okay? And I want to do it like this. If I just use this, not const, let's do let, and this is going to be the username, okay? I can put useRef. UseRef is another very powerful hook that basically stores a value, and it doesn't trigger any re-render if the value changes. And this is exactly what I want, because now I can, all the time that I on-change the input, I can set the username. It's an object, so I need to access the current value. It's just e.target.value. So basically it's gonna take the value of the input field, okay? Now I can just run some validation. So like if check username, and it needs a username, so I'm gonna just put the username.current, and this is gonna be a function that returns a boolean, most likely. So if this is true, I want to set the status, and remember this is the function that I use to change the status of the field. I want to change it to valid, okay? Otherwise I want to, and I can even return this so that I can get out of this function. Otherwise I return set status like an empty string, like this. Of course, this function doesn't exist and it's gonna give me an error, but I can create it. Like outside my component, I can create an arrow function, check username, and this is gonna take a username, and it's gonna be just a basic validation. So return username.trim so that I can get rid of all the white spaces. .length is greater or equal than 6. It's greater. Oh my god, greater. Okay, equal 6. And let's say that the username, let's say that not username.match. I need a regular expression here. Let's say like this. So basically is there are no white spaces. There is no blank space in the name. So what I'm saying is, yeah, this is how I check that a username is valid. And now this is running basically on change all the time. And this set status is basically the function that I use to change the status, and it's connected, it's linked to this function over here from the useState hook. And of course you say, Marco, you said that you don't want to re-render all the time, but like this, on change, you are basically running the set status, which is going to re-render all the time. This is not entirely true, because what React does in the useState, it does what it's called a shallow comparison. So basically it compares the previous value and the current values of the state, and if they are the same, it's not going to re-render. In this case, at the beginning in the form, I am initializing with an empty string, and as long as this is not valid, it's always going to be an empty string. So the state will never change, and since React sees that it doesn't change, it's not going to trigger a re-render. So that's the way it works. Okay, now one last thing that I need to do basically is, well, I need to change the class, because here I want to add a class of correct if it is correct. And just for your information, if I look at the CSS, the correct class just adds the green color to it, and then there is going to be a wrong class and just adds like a red color to it. That's basically it. So I'm going to add check that does everything, and then either green or red. If I now look at this, you see that is red. But if I put wrong, you now see that is red, basically. So I want this class to be dependent on the status. So either valid or an empty string or invalid. And to do that, since I have 3 cases, I want to create a reusable function that gives me the class, and also a reusable function that gives me the icon, because the icon at this spot over here is going to be different for all different cases. What I can do here is, outside the folder components, inside the SRC, I create another component, and I'm going to call this utils. And this is where my utility functions are going to be. I create a file, and I can call this utils.form.js. This is going to be a pure JavaScript file, and inside here I can start, doing what I have to do. So the first thing that I have to do is for the icons. And for the icons, I need something very particular. I'm gonna stop the server and I need to basically install the Font Awesome icons, the React package. And if you want to know where it is, you just go to React Font Awesome and you basically need to install this. All three, yeah, maybe don't need the free solid, but you know what, who cares? Just gonna save it like this and I'm just gonna run it inside here. Let's see if it runs all at once. Nice. So once I've installed the Font Awesome, I can just import it. So import Font Awesome, first of all. And you do it like this, like font, let's see if it takes it, like Font Awesome icon, nice. So this is the component. Now I need to get access to the icons themselves. And how do you do it? Well, it's very simple. So the one I want, the first one I want is the circle, and it's FA circle, and I should have it right here. And it's importing it from the solid. Do I want it from the solid? I actually want it from the regular. Can I put the regular here? Is that something that I can do? Well, I need the circle, I need the FA check circle, which is the basically checked one, and the, what is the other one? Times circle, which is the one with the hex. Now, like this, I have my icons, and I can even, I don't think it should break. Let's start the server again, and we'll see if it fails. Okay, everything looks good. It's not failing. The console is, yeah, it looks fine. So the icons are coming through, and now I can create my functions. So the first function I want to create is the get class name. Okay, and here I'm gonna get a status basically. And I want to basically do the same thing, but for the get icon. And very intuitively, this function is going to give me the class name, and this function is going to give me the icon based on the status. Inside here, I'm just going to create a default class, and this is, as we saw, check. I always want the check class. Then I'm going to use a switch statement. I need the case, so the status. So this is going to be based on the status. Now, in case the status is valid, I want to return the default class plus, I'm going to let it a space, correct. So this is going to turn it green. Now, in case is invalid, I want to return the default class plus space wrong. This is gonna give me like the check correct, check wrong. And I can even give it a default and just return default class. So whatever happens, I'm always going to have at least this class, which is what I want. In the get icon works exactly in the same way, but instead of returning like the class, I'm going to return the icon that I want to return. So I can even copy paste this logic inside here. This is, I can call it default icon. Do I really need it? No, this, I don't need this, but like the default icon that I want to return is a Font Awesome icon, of course. And now you need to specify the icon, and you can specify it like this, and it's the circle. Okay, it's the fast circle, FA circle, sorry. So basically this is the simple one. In case it's invalid, I want to return the Font Awesome icon, but the icon is going to be different. It's going to be the FA times circle. In case it is valid, I'm going to return, I can even copy paste, too much typing. But the icon is going to be a FA check circle. Nice. One thing that I need to remember is to export this, and I'm going to export it like a module. So get class name and get icon. Why am I doing this? Okay. So now I have my two functions, and just to repeat, this is going to return my class name based on the status, and this is going to return the icon based on the status. Now I can import it in the username field. So here, instead of having this, like, first of all, I need to import them. So let's say helper function. Oh no, utility function. Okay. And the first one is import get class name, all right, and get icon, like this. I'm importing them both. Now, here I can use the function. So get class name, and I give it the status. And in here, I can even have a get icon, and I give it the status as well. Now, this should, let's imagine what I should get in return. This should give me a normal class of check, and this should give me just a normal circle. Let's see if this happens. It's not happening because I need to, of course. I need to install these free regular icons. No problem. Let's do it now. I'm gonna stop this, and yeah, if I just not like this. Oh my god, what have I done? Okay, do it again. Let's see on the website if I can do it. I need the free regular, this one. Okay, just to install this, and I think we should be good to go. And now I have my circle. Now, of course, the logic is there. So if I do something and I do like Marco and I add something, you see that now it's green, so it's working. And if I get rid of this, it's not working anymore. If I put empty spaces, it's not going to work because it's specified in my function. So the username field is working. And now the good news is that the email field is basically going to be the exact same as this. So I can even like Command A and just copy the entire thing. Now, of course, I need something different here. This is not the username field, but it's the email field. I got my status, my set status. This is going to be my email. This is the HTML for email, and it's going to say email here. Email, of course, the placeholder is going to be mail. Mail.com. Maybe this is a better symbol. And here I can say that the email is valid. Email is valid. Okay. Now, of course, the check that I run on the email is going to be different. And if I check my email, and I have to run a different check. But here I can basically say that the email current value is equal to that. I call the check email. Okay, and I just change the value. This is the very beautiful thing about React. You can just reuse the logic that you if you plan out your components in a proper way, you can really do it like this. So basically here I'm checking everything. Okay, so now the only thing that's missing now, it's this. The function that I want to run to validate the email. For this, I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm gonna set a regular expression. This is usually how you do it. I'm gonna create this regular expression because I want to compile it, and let me just copy paste because it's quite long. You'll find all this code on the web, on GitHub, but now I explain what I'm doing. So this is just some basic validation for an email. It basically is saying, I want some characters before the @ symbol. I want an @ symbol. And then I want some characters behind the @ symbols. And I want a dot. And then I want at least 2 to 4 characters behind dot. This is some super basic validation. The I is just a flag that indicates like case insensitive. So capital K's, lowercase, who cares? And then I just need to return the email.match this regular expression. So if it matches this regular expression, then it's valid. If it doesn't, it's not valid. We also have it here. And if I type anything, it's not gonna validate anything. But if I now mail at mail.c, remember we need 2, and now it's valid. And if I put more than 4, it's not valid anymore. Nice. And we've just done the email, like in 2 seconds. We just reused the component. We redefined a little bit of logic inside, but basically this is super, super powerful. Amazing. Now things start to get a little bit complicated when we think about the password field, because in here I have a couple of things that I need to do. So the first thing is get all the props. And if you remember, I have the status, I have the set status, I have the confirm status, and I have the set confirm status. I think it's everything. Pass status, set status, confirm, and set confirm. Is this what I'm getting? Yep. Okay, nice. Now the logic inside is basically the same. I'm gonna have a reference for the password with the use ref hook, and it's gonna be an empty string, and the confirm password is going to be an empty string as well. Nice. Now what I want to do is gonna have this div, and the class is going to be a form input as well, because I'm going to have this form input. This is going to be for the password, but I'm going to have another one, not another return. That's totally inappropriate, because I'm returning the password and the confirmed password, and those are 2 inputs, 2 different inputs. Now React doesn't like this. For a React component to work, you need to return just one HTML element. But the good news is that you can even return what it's called a fragment. And a fragment is basically nothing. So if I just do this, I have created a fragment. And if I now move this inside, this React component, it's not gonna complain at all. And that's good. Okay. So now I have my password. And I think I should return this, yeah. Let's put it inside like brackets so that nobody gets confused. Okay, now it works. And now let's create my first input. This is for the password, and I can give it a class name of small, just the same as before, like password. Of course, I need the input now. And the input is going to be a password type. The name is going to be a password. Okay. I can even put a placeholder here with a password. Yeah, why not? That's basically it. And inside here, I'm going to have another label. This time is for the confirm password. And it's going to say confirm password. Okay, it's going to have an input field. This is going to be password as well, but the name is going to be confirm password. If you were wondering what this name property is needed for, is for the label. And when you're taking like the data from the form, you're getting the name thanks to this name property. So basically, if I'm looking for this input, I just select select with this name, confirm password, and I have this input. I can even put a placeholder here, and that's confirm password. Okay, and just like this, I should have 2 more fields. Look at this. I also have something that I don't want is this. I have no idea what that was there. And look at this. Oh yeah, I forgot the class name on this label. Small. Nice, beautiful. Now what I want to have is basically the same exact thing. I'm gonna do it for the confirm password. It's a little bit easier at first. So inside the input, remember I have a div, and inside this div I have the icon. I don't have the icon. I have the span with passwords match. Okay, that's the condition. And above that, I have the get icon. And for this to work, I need to give it the confirm status. And the class name is gonna get from class name. It's not gonna be a string, but a function. And it's get class name. And of course, it's gonna be confirm status as well. Now I need to import this. I imported this, but not the other one. Get class name. Is it the same? Yeah, it looks the same. Now, if I look at this, I have password match and this little circle right here. Now, the password is the big complicated one because each one of them, I can just check very simply. I can even write the function that goes inside here. Look. If I just check password match, it takes 2 functions, the password and the check the confirm password. Okay, and I just do this and I just return password is equal the confirm password. That is super easy, nothing too complex. And inside here, inside my input, just put an on change. I'm gonna get access to the event and I just run the function. So basically I set the confirm password dot current to the value of the input. And then I just check if check password match, if check password match, and I just have to give it both passwords. The first is the password dot current, so this value over here that is gonna be connected to the password, and the second is the confirm password dot current. Nice. So if this is true, I set the confirm status to valid. Otherwise, set confirm status as an empty string, just like this. Now it's never going to work because I don't have a password and I don't have to check on the password, but I can just type whatever I want and this works. Now the complicated things is when I manage the password itself, because when I initialize it as an object, and there is a reason for this, because I have multiple things I need to check for. I need to check for at least 8 characters, must contain letters, must contain numbers, and symbols. So one way I can solve this, of course, I need to provide a password function that check if the password is valid. So I can call it check password. This is an arrow function. It's gonna take the password, and now this is a little bit more complicated. First of all, I always want to use regular expression. So I want to call this character regular expression, and this is going to be for my characters. It's going to be a new regular expression, and it basically is slash like this, A to Z, more than one time, like at least one, and of course it's going to be I, like case insensitive. And this is done, and I can have it for a couple of stuff. So here I want to see if it has number. So I can just say the number regular expression. And in the regular expression, you usually indicate the numbers with like this, digits, at least one digit. Then I'll have the symbols, because I want symbols as well. To do symbols, you do a capital W, which basically is everything that is not a character or a digit. And I also want to check something quite particular, which is the space. I don't want any white space. And the white space is indicated with the S, like this. Now, I have all my regular expression. I can create an object, like an output object. This output object is going to be like valid characters, and this is going to be a Boolean, because I want it to be a Boolean. It's going to be password.match. Well, I'm checking for the characters, right? So I'm using the character regular expression. It's going to go on like this, but here I'm going to check for the numbers. Here I'm going to check for the, what is that? The symbols. It's not like this. For the symbols, regular expression. And here I'm checking for the space, regular expression. So basically here I just have to say valid num. Just names that, you know, are quite descriptive. They can help you identify the thing. And this is valid space. Now this valid space works a little bit different, because if these things match, it means that I got white spaces. So this is going to be true. I want the opposite. I want it to be true when there are no white spaces. So I just negate it. Just not this, basically. This is going to be true when there are no spaces. One last check that I want to see is the length. Valid length. And this is even simpler, because I can use no regular expression at all. Just say password.length. Can I, yeah, let's do it like this. It should work anyway, because I'm checking if there are spaces in it, but this must be greater or equal than 8. So basically this is my output object, and this is going to help me to set the status in the password object in here. Basically it's going to help me set the status here, and you'll see how. And I just return the output like this. Oh yeah. Now the different things that I need to do in the password. Am I doing? Okay, this is the input. So I got the onChange in here. I just put the onChange. I got access to the event, and this is going to be my function. Okay. So as always, the first thing that I want to do is set the current value of the password to the value of the input, so that they are in sync. Okay. Then I have to build like the object, because this status is actually the object. Okay. And I can name it like this, status, just not to like collide with this, with the name I pass in, just because of that. Where was I? Yeah, let's status. Now I need to build an object like this. And the object is actually very simple. I'm gonna have my character check. And remember, these checks, as for the confirm password and the email, I want it to be either valid, either an empty string, or invalid. There are no like in the middle. It's just that. What I can do is to, first of all, I want to run the check. And this is going to be like the check password. And I'm gonna pass in the password or current. And remember, this is gonna return this beautiful object right here. So basically, this is going to be the object that I have. Now the check password is, well, if check dot valid character, if this is true, I want it to be valid. Otherwise, I want it to be an empty string. And this works exactly in the same way for all the others. Of course, I'm checking like here I'm checking the numbers, and I'm gonna check the check valid numbers. This is going to be check valid symbol, and this is going to be check valid space. Check dot valid space. I'm gonna call this symbol and space. I think I got a new one. Yeah, this is the length, valid length. This is check length check. Very creatively. Okay, so now these are going to be basically, this is valid or invalid or an empty string. Now that I have this object, I set the status of the password with this object, with the newly created status. And I also want to do something like if not status dot check space check. Where is it? Space check. So basically, if there are empty spaces, I just want to return. I don't want to do anything else. So basically, I now, for everything that I'm typing, I am setting the status to this. And why is this important? Well, it is important because in my, like, each individual div that I'm gonna have underneath, their class and their icon is going to be determined by the values of these checks. So as I was doing before, I have a div, and inside this div I have a span, not like this. What is this? Span, okay, and this is at least 8 characters. All of this are going to have a class name of, this is a get class name. I think it should be imported automatically. Well, this is going to be the status dot, I'm checking the length, so it should be the length check. Length check. So this is either valid or not valid, etc. And the icon inside should be, this is a get icon, should be set on the status dot length check as well. Of course, I get an error because I'm not importing it. I'm importing it. Auto import, guys. Nice. Now, if I save this, everything should work fine. It's not, because get last name is not defined. Oh yeah. Because I've imported, yeah, this. It's capital. Okay, now it works. And I got my at least 8 characters here. I wonder why it's more spaced out. Oh yeah, because it's outside. I didn't want to put it outside. Did I put it outside? Yeah, it's outside. It should be inside the form input. It should be like here. Now it's in. Okay, nice. And what I want to do is just repeat it like 4 times. 4 times. The second one is has number, like must contain letters or numbers. This one is must contain numbers. Must contain numbers. And this is must contain symbols. Must contain symbols. Okay, of course the things that I'm checking are different. So here, for instance, I'm not checking the length, but I'm going to check the character check. Okay, this is looking at the status, which is an object, and it's saying if it's valid or invalid. Here I'm checking the numbers, so it's the num check. This is the symbols, so it's the symbol check. Okay. And one other thing that I need to do here, and this is quite relevant, is that inside this function onChange, so inside here, I need to check if the confirm password dot current, so if the value is not empty, Because if it's not empty, it means that I've typed something inside. If it's not empty and it doesn't match, okay, password, what can I say? Check password match. What did I call it? Check password match. And if not, check password match. And inside I just need to put the password.current, which is the value, and the confirm password.current. So if this is not true, it means that they don't match. So I need to update the status. So set confirm status to be an empty string again, because now it's not valid anymore. And this is relevant because let's say that I type the two passwords and they match, but then I change the password. Since the function is just checking this, but it's not checking even the confirm value, I'm basically I'm not gonna see. It's a little bit of a bug because I'm not gonna see if they still match. But if every time I type something in the password, I also check if it matches the confirm password, like this, it works. It solves the bug. I can even put an else if. There's another condition. So again, there must be something inside the confirm password. Confirm password.current. Because if it's empty, I don't care to check. I know it's not gonna match. And they do match. So check password match. Of course, again, this is current. This is confirm password.current. If they do match, I got changes the confirm status again. This time is valid. Okay. Now I have control on basically everything. I got my things. This is the basic functioning. So if I put I put a space that doesn't count. If I put a mail, mail.com, this is valid. If I put a password like my name is, okay, I got letters, 88. Oh, let's do something like easier. Password 88 question mark. Is that question mark? Is that not adding? Okay, something is wrong in the symbols. Okay, this is current, not current like this. Sim check must contain symbol. Did I not call it? Oh, because this is a space. Oh man, this is totally wrong. This is symbol. Okay, and this is space. Valid space. Oh, look. Okay, that was a stupid mistake. Okay, now it should work. So if I do like password 88 question mark, now it works. And if I match the password 88 question mark, no. Oh my God. Password 88 question mark. Oh. They don't match? Okay, there's something wrong with the match function. Console, nothing was returned from render. Let's try to do it again. Password 88 question mark. Password 88 question mark. Okay, there's something wrong in the match function. Password confirm password. Check password match. And it's coming from here. Alright, so the problem was that I'm not returning. So basically I'm running this, but then I'm setting it back. Yep. Now, let's see. Password 123 question mark. Password 123 question mark. Now it works. And look, if I change something here, you see that the password match disappears. And the only way to make it disappear is if I add this logic inside the password input. Okay, now this behavior is exactly what we want. One last thing is when I submit the form, I want to validate the form. So basically, yeah, you have a real-time feedback when you type something, but if you leave something unmatched or that is not green, you're gonna get schooled. How can we do that? Well, all the components now work fine. The last piece of validation is when I push this button. So it's gonna happen on submit. On submit, I want to handle the submit. This is running a function, and I can define it inside. I'm gonna say handle submit, and I'm gonna define it in a particular way. I'm gonna use the use callback hook. And what this allows me to do is basically, it should be out imported. What this allows me to do is basically to just not redefine the function every time the component re-renders. It's a bit of a best practice, and I think it works fine for now. Inside this use callback, I will have access to the event itself, and I can run my arrow function. So first of all, I want to prevent so that the form doesn't reload the page. Secondly, I forgot something. I want a reference to the form itself. So is form valid? And I'm gonna use a ref. There is no need to use something else. And I'm gonna initialize it as true. Okay. Why am I using a Boolean to check if it's valid? Well, realistically, when you fill a form and you submit it, you probably hitting some API. If it's for a sign up, using your sign up API, your authentication. So you want to see if it's valid. If it is, you send it to your API. If it is not, you just display the error message, basically. So this is for a more realistic scenario. Second thing I want to do is to set this current. Remember, when you're using ref, you have access to an object with the current is the current value of that object. And I want to set it to true again. This might look weird, but basically, let's say that I submit it and it's not valid. This is going to be set to false with the logic. I then compiled it again and I rerun it. I resubmit it. I didn't change the current value. It's still false. Even if the form is valid, the value hasn't changed. So every time I run a submit, I want the status of the form to be valid all the time. Now what I have to do is check the username status. And this is why I am initializing like this, because I can have access to it in the form. If this is different from valid, so basically it's not valid, I'm gonna set the current value to false. You don't do it like this, but you do it like this. Good, Marco. Yep. And this is false, so it's not valid anymore. Oh my god. And one thing that I want to do is to set the username status to invalid. And remember, the invalid class, if I check in my utility functions, it's going to return the class of wrong, and it's going to return this icon. So basically I'm going to see the red cross. Very bad sign. I can even copy paste this because it works in the same way for the email and for the chat password. Here I just got my email. Oh my god. Email. If it's not valid, I'm gonna set it as false, and then I'm gonna update the status of the email to invalid. This is the confirm password status. This is the name, and I'm gonna use this function, which is too long to type. Now, the password works a little bit different because I have an object, I don't have a string. Even though, if I now run this, should work pretty fine. Of course, nothing is defined because I didn't import it. Now I've imported, and well, This is now defined, isn't it? Huh. So it's telling me that it's not defined. Haha. There's too much Python, guys. When you use too much Python, you don't declare the functions. Now it works. If I had to run it like this, you'll see that I'll get this. Of course, this is the only functions, the only input fields that I'm checking. Now I need to check this entire object, and this is another beast. One thing I can do is use this set password status function, because I want to set it. And inside here, I can get access to the previous value, so the previous object, okay? And what I want to return from this object, I want to basically scan through it. I want to return another object that is going to be the new status for the password. So a new object where the character check is going to be, well, if the character check of the previous object is equal to valid, so it is valid, then I want to just keep it valid. If it's not valid, I want to set it as invalid. And this works for all the other checks that I do. I do 5, I think. This is basically the same thing, but now this works for the number. Yep. This is for the symbol. I think it's easier to do it this way. I need to keep the names as like identical. This is going to be the space check, the space jam, space. Basically, I'm just rebuilding the object that I am building here. So I'm checking if it is valid. You update, you don't do anything. The status is still valid. If it's not valid, meaning it's an empty string, you give it a status of invalid. And this is going to give it the red look to it. And this, I think, do I need to check for the length? Yeah, I was checking for the length as well. But wait a minute. This is not going to give me any error, but yeah, who cares? Once I have this, I have to add a little bit of thing. I need to run through this object and see if I only have valid values. And to loop through an object is quite simple, because I got the in property in JavaScript. This is an object, so it gets from the prototype. I'm just getting through the values, so this single values. What object? Where am I? Okay, what object am I looking for? Now this is giving me some errors that I don't like. Oh yeah, because this is a what an idiot. For what object am I looping through? The password status. Now for each value in the password status, if I encounter just one value that is equal to invalid, and I just need one, I'm gonna set the isForm valid.current to false. To false, like this. And I'm gonna break. So I don't need to loop through anything else. Now we have everything. And if I reload this, I can see Marcone mail.com. Now the password is password 123 question mark. Password 123 question mark. Now they match, and if I submit, I don't have anything. Of course, nothing happens. But if they don't match and I just submit, I get my 2 errors. Must contain symbols and password don't match. Amazing. Guys, I like it. We made it. the form is validating correctly. And honestly, you can apply this to basically any form that you want. The logic will remain the same. If you want like a feedback form, a contract, a job, whatever you want. This was my basic idea for a form validation. I know it has been a bit long, but I honestly hope that you could learn something from this. If you did, please leave a like and share this video. I'll see you all at the next one. Ciao.